It's time for a new adventure. We're going to slip on a t-shirt, slap on a hat and slop on some sunscreen as we're going to Hoenn. So welcome to a brand new series here on the channel. Every 4 weeks we're going to be doing a run here in Pokémon Emerald, and I'm incredibly excited to see how this series goes. Pokémon Emerald is by far the longest game we're going to be challenge running here together on the channel, and I think there's an awful lot of room for optimization, but we've always got to start somewhere, and today it's going to be Blastoise's chance. We're going to start off with the Kanto starters here in Hoenn, much like we're doing the starters in Fire Red, and we're going to complete all of the starter lines available in Generation 3 before then diversifying into other Pokemon as well. The Pokemon that we're running today is Blastoise, but in order to get a Blastoise we need to start as a Squirtle. And just a little word of note about the rules for this run. Because we're not able to set the IVs for Squirtle until after we're in Professor Birch's laboratory, the timer will only start when we walk away from Professor Birch, much like how it happens in our Generation 2 runs. But for now, let's take a look at our stats. We are level 5 with 20 HP. We have a neutral nature, 11 in attack, 13 in defense, 11 in special attack, 12 in special defense, 10 in speed, and our moves are tackle and tail whip. And with the stats out of the way, we can take our first steps away from Professor Birch, and the challenge run has officially begun. Of course, I'm going to show you the very first encounter we have with the wild Pokemon, and it's a level 2 Wurmple. It's going to be 3 shots to knock out the Wurmple with tackle, and once we've dealt with that, we'll make our way up towards May. She's our first rival battle, and she has a Trico. It makes sense to give May Trico because that's going to be super effective against us, although as far as I'm aware, the rival isn't a big factor in the Generation 3 games. And now that we've defeated her, we'll make our way through the Petalburg Woods, and this is where we get our first encounter with the nasty teams of the Hoenn region. This is Team Aqua, and this Team Aqua Grunt has a Poochyena. It's setting up against us, but it's all too late for the Aqua Grunt. We knock it out with a few tackles, and we can start making our way towards our first gym together. Our first gym is going to be in Petalburg City, and it's going to be Roxanne. She is a Rock-type specialist, and she leads with Geodude. We've got Water Gun on the learn set, and it's 4 times super effective against the Geodude, so both of those go down in a single hit. And here comes Nosepass. What an ugly creature that is. It's also rock-tombing us to lower our speed, but we get a very lucky critical hit to prevent Roxanne from healing, and we also get an evolution. At level 16, Squirtle evolves into Wartortle, and aren't we happy about that? And that means we've earned our first badge, the Stone Badge, in a time of 9 minutes and 41 seconds. And now, before we take on our second gym leader, we're going to have to deal with Team Aqua yet again. It's that same Poochyena, and this time we one-shot it with Water Gun, and we can start making our way across the open seas. We, of course, do not have Surf at this point, but this kind old man called Mr. Briny offers us a lift. Before we get there though, May asks us for another battle, and I think why not? What's the worst that can happen? She's got a Wingull at this point, and that is water flying. We take care of it in 2 tackles, and now we get Bite. Just in time as well, because I think we'll be using this against her Trico. Trico is her second Pokemon. We bite it as it uses Leah, and we bite it once more as it starts to drink us. 3 bites knocks it out, and we have defeated May, and we can start moving on towards Dewford Town. In Dewford Town, we have our second gym leader. This is Brawly, the fighting type specialist, who leads with Machop. We're going to start off with a Water Gun, and then we're going to start setting up. We want to try and get as bulky as possible for the rest of this battle. Brawly's other 2 Pokemon can be particularly dangerous, and in a big change from the Generation 2 games, these early game gym leaders have healing items. We get through the Machop after he heals once, and here comes Meditite. Meditite is a brand new Pokemon to us here on the channel. It's psychic fighting, and that means that Bite is going to run neutral. And after a few nibbles, we knock it out, and we see Brawly's ace. This is Makuhita, the punching bag Pokemon. We knock it out in 3 Water Guns to obtain our second badge. This is the Knuckle Badge in a time of 17 minutes and 37 seconds. We've then got to cross back to the mainland, but we're going to just north of Slateport City, where May is going to ambush us for a 3rd time. We're getting all the rival battles out early on in this run, and she still leads with Wingull. We nibble away at the Wingull to knock it out in a few hits, and here comes Grovyle, and what a gross Vile this is. We hit ourselves a few times in confusion courtesy of Wingull's Supersonic, and it's all downhill from here. The Grovyle keeps drinking and drinking away at us, and we take our first reset of the run. The next attempt goes much better because we're able to high roll against the Wingull and we're at full health without confusion for the Grovyle. We're still going to be drunk by this Grovyle, but we can make the best of it. We can just keep nibbling through, and then she's got her third Pokemon. This is a Slugma. We know all about Slugma and its weakness to water, so we knock it out in one shot. And we are through our third May battle in just over 28 minutes. A little bit of plotline later and we end up in our third gym together. This is Watson's Electric-type gym and he leads with Electrike. And now we have a little bit of a disaster against Watson. He's the third gym leader of the run and I completely underestimated just how strong he is. I thought we'd be absolutely fine as a Wartortle. And that brings me on very nicely to something I want to very briefly touch upon. I am still brand new to Emerald Challenge running. I thought it'd be incredibly fun to document the learning process with some of these earlier runs with a starter Pokemon, so I don't really know just what we're going to be up against. The first run we did together here on the channel was on that big anniversary stream back in August, and that was the Girafarig run, and this run was recorded just a few days after that because I'm running quite far ahead of myself at the moment, so please don't expect anything close to perfection or even smooth gameplay and voiceover while I'm still finding my feet in this brand new game. I'm really excited to run it, but I also know it's going to be a big challenge for me, not only as a player, but as a content creator as well, to try and do a challenge run in a region I am not familiar with whatsoever. And now we'll rejoin the action just as we've knocked out an Oddish, and that gave us the experience we needed to grow to level 36. At level 36 we evolved from a Wartortle into a Blastoise, and now I reckon Watson should be an awful lot smoother. It's a one-shot on the Voltorb, and here comes the Electrike. That's another one-shot, so he sends out Magneton. It's going to be a two-shot on the Magneton, but we were holding the Cherry Berry to prevent paralysis against the Magneton. We critical hit the Manectric, and that means we are through Watson in a time of 50 minutes and 10 seconds. Our next destination is Mount Chimney, where we are facing the other evil team of this run. This is of course Team Magma. It's Maxi of Team Magma and he leads with a Mighty Enna. There's not much diversity between Team Aqua and Magma, they have the same basic Pokemon, but then you can swap out the Sharpedo and Camerupt lines depending on which evil team you're facing. And once we're through Maxi, we're not done with the Fire-type Pokemon yet because we have Flannery to take care of. She's the Fire-type leader with a huge hair and she leads with Numel. Numel is no match for a Water Gun, and neither is Slugma. She sends out Camerupt next, and it's the same story, and her final Pokemon is Torkoal. This thing is pure fire, even though it looks like it should be a rock fire Pokemon, and that means it's not 4 times weak to our Surf. It sets up the sun, so we pivot instead to using Bite, and we're just going to keep nibbling away at this weird fire turtle. It uses Attract, but that doesn't matter to us. Our Blastoise is completely oblivious, and we earn the Heat badge in a time of 1 hour, 1 minute, and 2 seconds. We're going to keep up the gym leaders as we face our father. This is Norman, the Normal-type specialist of Petalburg City, and he leads with a Spinder that confuses us. We really do have to learn some of these techniques that some of these gym leaders have, and we now know that we should probably be holding some kind of Bitterberry analogue for the Spinder. We get through that though, and we're on to the Vigoroth. It's a simple one-shot with Water Gun on the Vigoroth, and here comes Linoon. Linoon's fairly easy to get through, it's a pair of Water Gun, and here comes the big guns. This is Slacking. Slacking is incredibly difficult to get through. It's got Facade, so you cannot status it, but we have Protect, so we're going to be taking advantage of its truant ability. Every time it tries to attack, we are going to be using Protect. It's cheap, but it gets the job done. Norman's Hyper Potion means we're slightly out of sync with the Protect, but we're not in any danger of fainting. And once I see Slacking start to use counter, I take it as my cue to go all out attack. We're just going to keep nibbling away at this thing, and we eventually knock it out, and we obtain our 5th badge, the Balance badge, in a time of 1 hour, 7 minutes and 31 seconds. We have now bridged the gap into Eastern Hoenn, where we're going to see May for the penultimate time. It's a one-shot with Water Gun on her Slugma, and we've got Ice Beam courtesy of the Game Corner for the Grovyle. We stick with Ice Beam for the Lombre to get 3 simple one-shots to defeat May, and then we can travel across the tops of Fortree to get into our next gym. This is Winona, the Flying-type specialist who leads with Swablu. Now this gym battle can be incredibly difficult if you don't have a good learn set. Fortunately for us, we have an excellent learn set here on our Blastoise, and we're not going to be facing any issues whatsoever, especially considering that the Toilet Bird supersonic missed and she gets herself caught in a bit of a healing loop. Even a Protect will not protect this Pelipper as we knock it out with another Ice Beam. We swap to Surf for the Skarmory and do Ice Beam against the Altaria for a pair of 1-hits to finish the battle, and we obtain the Feather Badge in a time of 1 hour 17 minutes and 43 seconds. Now it's time for some more plotline as we take on Maxi with the Mightyena. We use Surf against the Mightyena to knock it out in a single hit, so here comes Crobat. We've got Ice Beam for the Crobat because Blastoise has incredible coverage, so that was a very nice and clean battle, so we'll try to do the same now against Team Aqua. This is Team Aqua's admin, he is called Matt, and he leads, would you believe, with Mightyena. And now as we're battling Matt, I just want to explain the rules for the 7th gym. It's Tayton-Liza's Psychic Gym, but this is a double battle, so we're going to be taking in a Magikarp just so that we can engage them in battle. So with our sacrificial Magikarp in hand, let's see how it goes. This is Tayton-Liza, and they lead with a Claydol and a Xatu. Magikarp gets knocked out, and we set up a Rain Dance and start to Surf. Surf hits both of the opponents in Generation 3 double battles, however its power is slightly reduced, so we have to set up Rain Dance to try and make sure we're getting the most power possible from the move. It's super effective against Solrock, and we also knock out Xatu in the same turn, and that just leaves Lunatone left to go. Lunatone is Psychic Rock, so it also gets knocked out in a single hit, and we obtain the Mind Badge from Tayton-Liza in a time of 1 hour 37 minutes and 38 seconds. While we're in Moss Deep City, we're going to have another battle with the evil team. This time it's Team Magma. We'll be going head-to-head against Steven later, but for now we are in cooperation mode. He's got a Batang, we have a Blastoise. Let's see how we get on. We get swaggered first of all. That isn't the greatest start to this battle, but courtesy of a very lucky critical hit against the Mightyena, we're able to one-shot both of the Pokemon in front of us. Out next is Crobat and Golbat. We're going to continue on with the Surf because it hits both Pokemon on the field. Steven knocks out the Golbat, so here comes a Mightyena. Another Surf takes care of both the Crobat and the Mightyena, and now the last Pokemon is Camerupt. Camerupt is 4 times weak to water, so we knock it out in a single hit, and after declining the option to learn Skull Bash because it's quite frankly a terrible move, we have defeated Team Magma once and for all, so now let's take out Team Aqua. This is Archie, the big honcho of Team Aqua, and he starts with a Mightyena. Mightyena goes down in a single Surf, so here comes a Crobat. We're going to use Ice Beam against the Crobat to one-shot that, and his final Pokemon is Sharpedo. Sharpedo doesn't have great special defense, so we're going to keep on surfing as we get swaggered, but we hit through the confusion, we grow to level 56, and we say goodbye to Team Aqua as well as Team Magma. And with that, there's only one more gym battle left to go. This is Juan, the Sootopolis gym leader, and he leads with a Love Disc. Well, that Love Disc was incredibly easy. Let's see how we get on against Whiscash. Whiscash uses Rain Dance, that's going to help us a little bit later on in battle, and the third Pokemon is Celio. Celio's very bulky and it also has Body Slam, it paralyzes us, and I decide to take a reset. I don't think holding the Mystic Water's the way to go here. I think the Cherry Berry is going to do so much better. We Earthquake the Love Disc, we know that's a one-shot, and we are back onto the Whiscash. It's a 2-shot on the Whiscash as it uses Amnesia, and here comes that pesky Celio once more. Body Slam paralyzes us, but the Cherry Berry kicks in, and that means we knock it out in 2. His next Pokemon is Crawdaunt. We're going to continue on with the Earthquaking because this seems to be our best strategy, and then his ace is a pesky Kingdra. Kingdra has a nasty habit of using Double Team and becomes impossible to hit. We just have to keep persevering. We freeze the Kingdra, we hit it with another Ice Beam, but then he uses a Hyper Potion. We just have to hope that we can get this thing knocked out. We get very unlucky there because it defrosts. We get a critical hit this time with the Ice Beam though, and he uses yet another Hyper Potion. Is there anything we can do to knock this horrible dragon out? I forgive Claire for everything she's done in all of our runs. Claire's Kingdra might be a tricky Pokemon to come up against, but at least it's not got this scumbag learn set. Having Rest on your final Pokemon as the final gym leader just seems mean when you combine it with Double Team. We eventually get through one after brutes forcing our way through this battle, and we obtain our final badge in 1 hour 53 minutes and 10 seconds. Let's now make our way towards the Pokemon League, where we're going to face our substitute rival in Wally. He leads with an Altaria, it's 4 times weak to the Ice Beam, so it goes down in a single hit. And here comes a Magneton. We've got Surf for Magneton, so it's a lot easier than Watson's. We'll swap back to Ice Beam on the Roselia to make sure we don't get poisoned by its ability, and up next is Delcatty. Delcatty's cute, but it has no stats to back it up, so it was a simple one-shot, and now we can two-shot the Gardevoir to finish off Wally, and we can now officially make our way into the Pokemon League in Emerald for the very first time. And just like in Pokemon Crystal, the first thing we're going to do is heal up whether we need it or not. And while we're buying our 4 full restores, I want to remind everyone of the Gen 3 Rare Candy rule. We can use Rare Candies at any point in the Pokemon League in Generation 3, because it is an awful lot harder than the Generation 2 Pokemon League. So it is now or never. Our first Elite Four member is Sydney. He's a Dark-type specialist who leads with Mightyena. Mightyena has Intimidate, so that means we're going to have to prioritise our special attacks in this battle. Cacturn is second, it's part Grass type, so it goes down to a single Ice Beam, and so is Shiftry. So that means we've got rid of the 2 biggest threats of this battle. Our next Pokemon is Crawdaunt. It starts setting up with Swords Dance, so we use a combination of Earthquake and Surfquake if you like, to take care of it. And then that will bring us on to Sydney's last Pokemon. It's Absol, the Disaster Pokemon. And I think this might be foreshadowing how the rest of this Pokemon League is going to go. We get through Sydney on our first try. Let's now move on to Phoebe. Phoebe is the Ghost-type specialist and she leads with Dusclops. Dusclops immediately trolls us by using Protect, and now we get Cursed. And Curse in Generation 3 is not like Generation 2. If we get Cursed, it is curtains for that run. We have to take a reset because we're going to be taking damage regardless of whether we knock out the Pokemon or not. So we've got to be very careful against this Dusclops. We get through it this time and then we one-shot the Banette, growing to level 60. Another Banette comes out to say hello and uses Shadow Ball for minimal damage. We finish off that Banette with a Hidden Power Fire, and here comes Sableye. Sableye has no weaknesses in this generation, but that's absolutely fine for us. A pair of Ice Beams knocks it out, and this is another Dusclops. It lowers our special defense, but we critical hit to knock it out, and that's Phoebe completed in 2 hours, 1 minute and 16 seconds. Up next is Glacier. She is the Ice-type specialist and she leads with Celio. We've seen Celio before, we know what its shtick is. It likes to body slam and it likes to paralyze, but this one also likes to set up the hail. I have been forewarned by a couple of friends of mine that you can get into a real weather war with Glacier. She is not happy unless the hail is going, and that means we're going to have to play this battle incredibly carefully. We are going to be taking a lot of damage from that hail. It's just like Sandstorm, and then this Celio makes things even worse by hitting us with a track, so now we can barely hit this thing. We do eventually get through, so we get to see her next Glalie. It uses Ice Beam and it knocks us out. We have to leave the league at this point because I want to get the Rain Dance TM, and then after defeating the first 2 league members once more, we are back here at Glacier. For the first few runs here in Pokemon Emerald, we're going to be in and out of the league a fair bit. I'm only going to show you meaningful battles. We might take the odd reset here and there on the previous ones, but nothing where we make significant progress. We're now back onto that pesky Celio, and I really don't know how it's best to deal with this thing. In hindsight, I think Hidden Power Fire might have been a bit of a misplay. Something like Hidden Power Grass or Hidden Power Electric would definitely have made some of these battles a little bit easier, but we are still very much in the learning phase of Pokemon Emerald. We're not going to know exactly what to do for many, many more runs after this. If I get under 3 hours in any run at the moment, I am incredibly happy in Emerald. About 3 years ago, I actually recorded a Cast Form challenge run. It's going to be part of the Archive series at some point, and that was done in Pokemon Emerald, and that was my very first challenge run, and that went in at over 4 hours. So the fact that we are at the Pokemon League in 2 hours, I'm taking that as a victory for now. We get through the Glalie, and now we get to see her big, bulky Walrein. We use Surf against it and it uses Surf against us. We take it into the red and then its Citrus Berry kicks in to save the day. That gets Walrein out of healing range and we defeat Glacier in 2 hours, 16 minutes and 16 seconds. Our final league member is Drake. He is an actual Dragon-type specialist and he leads with Shelgon. Having the Dragon-type makes this battle relatively simple for us because we have Ice Beam on the learn set. The only trouble is we have another pesky Kingdra to deal with. This one, however, doesn't have an awful learn set, unlike the other one. It likes to set up, but it's still neutral to Ice Beam, and 3 Ice Beams is all it takes to knock it out. Flygon is 4 times weak to the Ice type, so we knock that out in 1, and then it's going to be exactly the same against Salamence. Salamence, of course, 4 times weak to Ice, so we knock it out in a single hit, and we're through Drake in 2 hours, 17 minutes, and 9 seconds, and now it's time for the champion. It's Wallace, another Water-type trainer, and he leads with Wailord. And goodness me, this battle got on my nerves. I really did not like Wallace's battle whatsoever. And I would argue, at least on first impressions, his first 2 Pokemon are absolutely the hardest 2 Pokemon you will come up against. That Wailord is incredibly bulky, and then we have a double teaming Ludicolo with Giga Drain, and no matter what I did, I could not get through this thing. It also has Swift Swim, and that means that if we set up the rain, it's going to be faster than us. We're going to use our first set of rare candies now, growing up to level 66. Let's see how we get on. We're still struggling against the Wall Rain. We've swapped to Return as well because that's dealing slightly higher damage, and we're holding the King's Rock to try and get some flinch hacks. I think we have to try and immobilize the opponents as much as possible. We get through the Wall Rain in much better shape this time when the rain stops, and here comes that Ludicolo once more. We 2-shot it this time, so we're on to Tentacruel, and this is looking much better. But then we get Toxicked. That puts us on a very hard limit for the rest of this battle, and this Milotic can recover and stall us until we eventually get knocked out by the poison. So that means we're going to leave the league, and we are going to have to take a hard reset. We're going to do a sweep to get all the rare candies, and then we're going to keep rare candying up. It took us a little while to get through the league again with a couple of resets on the way, but we are now at level 67. Let's see if we can do any better here. I've kept Earthquake on the learn set this time just for the pesky Tentacruel, but we've got a long way to go until we see that again. First of all, we've got to get through this horrible Wailord, and once it eventually knocks itself out with Double Edge, we're back onto the Ludicolo now. It sets up the evasion strategies. We miss an Ice Beam, and I decide we're going to have to use some more rare candies. We decline the options to learn Hydro Pump as we're going all the way up to level 70. I've routed in 12 rare candies into the Emerald routing, so that means we're going to be using them in 3 sets of 4. So we're back onto the Wailord, but this time we get through comfortably in the green HP. We're starting to make a little bit of progress, but we get seeded by Leech Seed, and that means we have to take a reset. The fact that the end of turn things happen whether you knock out a Pokemon or not makes Generation 3 a lot harder than Generation 2. Instead of getting that free turn when we knock out a Pokemon, we're still going to be taking that little bit of chip damage. We're through the Ludicolo and through the Tentacruel at this point though, and it's a little bit of a war of nerves against this Milotic. It keeps trying to stall us, and we just keep trying to get that high roll to knock it out. We do the shuffle between recover and return plenty of times. We eventually knock it out, and we get to see a Whiscash. Physical attacks are going to be better than special attacks against this Whiscash because it has Amnesia on the learn set, and it gets itself caught in a little bit of a healing loop. We're going to keep persisting against the Whiscash as we eventually knock it out, and the final Pokemon is Gyarados. We get intimidated, so that means we're going to have to stick with our special attacks, but we take a Hyper Beam to the face, and we're back to square one. At this point, I'm just going to go all in. I think there's no better strategy than to just use all of our rare candies. That means we're going to have to beat Steven at this level, but that is a risk I am willing to take. I really think that this is going to be the hardest battle that Blastoise comes up against. We're through the Ludicolo and through the Tentacruel this time though, and we're at nearly full health for the Milotic. We were holding a berry just in case of poison damage, and now we're back onto that war of attrition. We just have to keep chipping away at this Milotic because it's not going to use anything other than recover. We're in the green as the Whiscash comes out, and we're going to use a pair of Surfs. Even Amnesia won't save this thing, and this is the best position we've been in for the Gyarados. We know that we're going to have to use our special attack. He goes for Dragon Dance on turn 1, then locks himself into Hyper Beam. That means he cannot heal, and we are through Wallace in a time of 2 hours, 46 minutes and 35 seconds. And our Hall of Fame time is 2 hours, 46 minutes and 51 seconds. But there is still one more battle left to go. We are not ending at the Pokemon League. Instead, we're going into Meteor Falls, where we're going to take on Steven. He is the final battle of the run. He's a Steel-type specialist, and he leads with that horrible Skarmory. I really don't like Skarmory, so this was a nice opportunity to beat one up. And then we get to see an Aggron. It's a nice one-shot against the Aggron because Surf is super effective. And then we'll swap to Ice Beam for the Cradley. We high roll on turn 1, but it Giga Drains to regain some health, and then it plants its roots. Steven uses his first full restore at this point, and once again we high roll. Even with another high roll, we can't quite knock it out, but we do freeze it. But that just causes Steven to use yet another full restore. We're back to the Ice Beam, and we get it deep into the red, but then Giga Drain critical hits to knock us out. We're back onto the Skarmory. We know that's going to be a two-shot with Surf, and then we can keep on surfing against the Aggron. Aggron really is the free Pokemon in this battle, so I'm always happy to see it. Now let's go up against this Nemesis Cradley once more. This time we get confused, which is particularly pesky, but we high roll 2 turns in a row, so we get to see 7 penguins stapled together. It sets up a light screen, we hit ourselves in confusion, and I decide to take a very quick reset. On this attempt, Skarmory makes itself free by setting up spikes when we only have one Pokemon we're going to be battling with. We say goodbye to the free Aggron and we are back onto Cradley. In a stroke of luck, we get the high rolls that we need both turns in a row, but we do end up being confused. We hit through the confusion against the penguins on our first turn though, and we take it deep into the red. Earthquake barely tickles us as he full restores and gets himself caught in a healing loop. We snap out of confusion and now it's all over for these 7 penguins. There's absolutely nothing he can do. He can keep wasting his full restores. We've still got plenty of Surf PP, and here comes a Metagross. Metagross is weak to Earthquake, but it is a pseudo-legendary, so it can hit us like a truck. We get very lucky to knock it out with a Surf, and the final Pokemon is our Muldo. We hit it with a single super effective Surf to knock it out, and we have defeated Steven for the first time in one of our runs in 2 hours, 53 minutes and 36 seconds. Goodness me, what a rollercoaster ride of a run. When it was easy, it was very easy. When it was tough, it was very tough. And we have our first time on the Emerald leaderboard with Blastoise sitting there on top spot. We'll find out in 4 weeks' time whether it stays there in top spots, but for now, we are done. If you have enjoyed this fairly janky run, then please do leave a like. If you've got any feedback at all, leave it in the comments down below. To see more challenge runs in Generations 2 and 3, then make sure to click the subscribe button. And until next time when we're running Poliwrath through Pokemon Crystal, I'll say thank you all so much for watching. I'll see you all very, very soon.